Hi guys, it's Claire Rose here again, and today I am going to be bringing you the video which everybody else has already done and you've already seen on every other booktube channel and you are probably sick to death of. Yes, today I am going to be bringing you the mid-year book freakout tag. I know, what a plot twist, who saw that coming? Everybody who looked at the title of this video and who has been on booktube lately, probably. So, you guys know how this works by now. It is a series of questions asking me about what I have read so far this year and what my reading plans are for the second half of the year. I will leave a link to the original video and the content creator down below in the description. And without further ado, let's just jump straight on in. First question is a nice easy one, and that is, what is your favourite book that you have read so far in 2020? My answer to this is a very obvious one, and anybody who knows me will know my answer. Peter Darling by Austin Chant. This is not a new release this year, but this is the year that I read this book, having had it sat on my shelf for a while, and oh my god, I am so glad that I finally got around to reading this. This book is everything to me. Queer, gay retelling of the Peter Pan story with an adult Pan with a relationship with Hook and trans rep, and I just love this book so much. Everything about it is amazing. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Next on the list is the best sequel you have read this year. I've not read that many sequels this year, but I do have one to show you. And that is Come Tumbling Down by Shannon Maguire. I think that every single year one of these books comes out, it's going to be my answer for the favourite sequel that I have read that year because I love this series so much. This is, for anybody who doesn't know, it's the... gosh, I can't even remember which number book it is, but the latest book in the Wayward Children series, which follows a group of children who have had their adventures away in other lands, a bit like Narnia, or they've gone down the rabbit hole but then come back, and they're now trying to adjust to life in the normal world again whilst also still looking for their doors. I can't tell you anything that happens in this book because it would be major spoilers for the previous books in the series, but this book featured some of my favourite characters from the entire series. I love the plot in this. Queer rep in here again, fantastic. Another series which I will not shut up about and will not stop reading until the final book has come out, even if that is 30 books from now. Next up is a new release that you haven't read yet but which you would really like to, and for this I'm going to choose Sugar Summer by Hannah Moskowitz. This book has been marketed as a lesbian retelling of Dirty Dancing, and honestly I have never wanted anything so much in my entire life. That is just the one sentence you needed to say to me and I was sold on that book. Despite not actually really liking Dirty Dancing that much as a film, just the idea of it being retold with girls, that does something to me and I can't say why that is. Only problem with this book is it is a Kindle release only book and I don't own a Kindle, but I have the Kindle reading app on my phone now and I will be using that when I go backwards and forwards to the hospital. I'm going to start commuting in again next week. I'll be back on the wards, and so when I go in on the train I will need to be reading something and I don't want to be disinfecting a book every time I go in and out of the house, so I'll be reading Sugar Summer on my phone, probably starting next week. Next question is your most anticipated book for the second half of the year, and for this I'm going to go with Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. I don't actually know that much about this book, but what I do know is that it is written by Emily M. Danforth, who is the author of The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which is one of my favourite books of all time, and so really all I needed to know was that she was releasing a new book and I just had to jump on that. I believe I'm correct in saying that this is the first book she has released since The Miseducation of Cameron Post, and I am so excited to see what she will do next. This book is completely different, not connected to Cameron Post at all, and it's a completely different genre. I think this one's quite dark. I think there's a murder mystery element to it, and there's also some nice illustrations from what I can understand, quite creepy, dark, mysterious, utterly different from Cameron Post, and yet if this author is as good as her first book, then I'm sure she will rise to that challenge, and I just can't wait to read it. It's not out until later on in the year. I'll put a date up here if I can, just to let you guys know when it's out, but you'll be hearing my thoughts about that as soon as I get my hands on it, I'm sure. Then on to slightly more frustrating a question, and that is your most disappointing book of the year so far, and unfortunately I do have an answer to this. My biggest disappointment of the year so far has got to be Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Again, this book did not come out this year, but this is the year I finally got around to reading it. I was so hyped up for it. This is one of the LGBTQIA plus books which BookTube raves about. Everybody loves it, and I didn't. I just could not get along with the writing style. I just found it was limping along. I really couldn't get immersed in it. I couldn't connect with any of the characters, and you can see here where I stopped reading it. When did I eventually give up? Page 196, so not quite 200 pages in, and I just had to put it down because, you know, this was putting me into a reading slump. I don't think it helped that I came to this book straight off of the back of having read Peter Darling, so I was still hyped up on how much I loved that book. Came to this book, didn't love it as much. It didn't thrill me or excite me in any way, and it's just a massive disappointment given that this is such a big deal for the LGBT community, and I cannot enjoy it, and I cannot recommend this book. Next up is my biggest surprise, and for this I'm going to go right back to January, and I'm going to mention The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. I'm sure most of you have probably heard about it or read it if you wish to. This was a massive surprise for me because I had read The Handmaid's Tale years ago and I liked it, but I wasn't blown away by it. It didn't have the massive impact on me that it has had on so many other people. I can see why it's an important book, and I can see why at the time it did so much new and inventive stuff, but since then there are different dystopian worlds, different books looking at the same issues and perhaps doing it in a way that I find more enjoyable. But anyway, I read Handmaid's Tale, liked it, moved on from that. Wasn't expecting too much from The Testaments, but I picked it up on a whim because it was one of the only books available on audio from my library which I was in any way interested in. Actually ended up really loving it. The stakes were so high in this book. It made some really excellent points about gender and about dictatorships and the way in which the world views those dictatorships and the people who are oppressed by them, and just, oh, I really enjoyed that book. Thinking about it now, it makes me want to go back and read it again because I'm sure there's so much more I could get out of it a second time around. Next up is your new favourite author, and I have an issue with this because I have not read any new authors this year which I have read more than one book by. That was a very convoluted way of saying that, but you know what I mean. And so I am going to have to go back to another book that I have already mentioned so far in this video. And I'm going to have to give Austin Chant another shout out. Even though I haven't read any other books than Peter Darling, I really, really want to. As soon as they get republished in a format that I can read, I will be straight on them, and I really do not expect to be disappointed. I am sure I will love them just as much. Next question is your newest fictional crush. I do not have any new fictional crushes. Let's move on from that. The next question is your new favourite book character. Again, I'm going to have to go back to one of the books that I've already mentioned in this list. And the thing is, I can't even tell you which character is my new favourite character because that in itself would be a spoiler for this book. But there is a character who we were introduced to previously in the series who comes back in this book. We get to know a lot more about. We get to see their interactions with other people around them, and it just filled me with love for that particular character and their relationship, and just everything about them was perfection. Really enjoyed this. If you have read this book series, then maybe I can tell you somewhere privately who my favourite character is, but I don't want to spoil for anybody who is yet to come to this book. Next, a book that made you cry, and for that I'm going for one of my more recent reads, and that is Orpheus Girl by Brian Rebel Henry. This book really did make me cry. It really got to me emotionally, and it still is a bit emotional thinking about some of the events that happened in this book. It features two girls at a gay conversion camp, and really that's all you need to know about in order to understand why this book was so emotional to me. It depicts gay conversion camps as the human rights violation that they really are, and it exposes them in a very brutal way. It's a situation that thankfully so many of us do not have an insight into, and long may it remain that way, but I feel that we need to know about these situations. People need to educate themselves on how damaging these camps are, how damaging they are for the young minds who are put in there, And just really, this book was an amazing journey, so emotional, so many twists and turns, and the ending nearly broke me. And I really, really recommend this book to anybody who's looking for a LGBT plus book with a darker, deeper meaning to it, and also with some great mythology references as well. Next is a book that makes you happy, and for that I will be going with Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the first book in the Nevermore series. I'm sure that everybody has already read this book because it's been talked about everywhere on BookTube. Everybody has recommended it for quite some time now. I only just got on the bandwagon. This is about the story of a girl called Morrigan Crow who is doomed to die on her, I think it's her 11th birthday. Yes, her 11th birthday. She is destined to die on that day, but instead she gets whisked away to this magical world that she never knew existed, and there she must undergo a series of trials in order to gain acceptance to a magical school. Really good book. Really sets up this diverse, dynamic world that I could really picture myself and get absorbed into. And I can't wait to read the second book. I just haven't got around to it just yet. Next is the most beautiful book that you have acquired so far this year, and for this I think I'm going to go with Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Again, a book that's been out for some time, but I only just bought it. But look how beautiful this cover is. That is a stunning design on there. I love the pink. I love how bright and vibrant it is. It's not even coming across that well on camera, but the pink is so bold and like neon pink and just exactly my style. So I just love this cover so much. And this is another book which I will be looking forward to reading. I believe this will actually be the very next book I pick up after I finish the book that I am currently reading. We're nearly at the end now, and so the next question is any books that you need to read for the second half of the year? And really, there are no books that I need to read. I don't have any set books for university. If I do, they will be medical-based books, midwifery books. So I can't say that I need to read them. I'm not part of any book clubs, but there is one book which I personally feel that I need to read as soon as possible, and that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is, of course, the new Hunger Games book, the prequel set many, many years before the events of the Hunger Games. I really feel like I need to read this sooner rather than later, because if I keep on leaving it, eventually I'm going to get spoiled for it, and I don't want that to happen. So my order of reading after the book I'm currently reading is Wilder Girls, and then moving straight on to this hunker chunk of a book. But you know what, it doesn't even intimidate me as much as some big books do, because Hunger Games I flew through the entire trilogy in 1 week, so I'm sure I can do similar things for this one. And that brings us to the last question on the list, which is to talk about your favourite book community member. And for this I'm going to talk about my darling, my dearest, my Sarah from Septimus Snape. I will again be leaving a link to her channel down below. She is fairly new to BookTube. She started her channel not that long before I revamped mine, and I have been talking to her on Discord. She's a very good friend of mine and such a lovely person. She brings such energy. Oh, hello. She brings such energy and positivity to the community. She's always trying to be involved in the community in whatever positive way she can. She ran a whole self-care based readathon last month, which I was so pleased to be a part of, and I'm just sorry that I couldn't be a more active part of the reading side of it. I co-hosted one of the shows with her for the live readings, and that was so much fun. She's such a genuinely lovely person, and I think you should all go and follow her and check out her videos right now if you haven't already done so. So that is it for my contribution to the mid-year book freakout tag video. This is probably the 100th version of this video that you have seen so far, but if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and to just chat to me in the comments down below about your reading so far this year. How has it been going? Mine has sort of tapered out last month. I'm hoping to get back on the bandwagon in July. Gosh, we're now in July. How did that happen? Hoping to get back on the reading train this month, get myself in gear and build myself up for some excellent reading in the latter half of 2020, when the first half maybe didn't go how any of us were expecting it to. I can't wait to talk to you all again soon. Bye!